LA This Week.
Balancing development, preservation, while at the same time easing traffic problems in Tinseltown. I'm Gil Reyes with some bright ideas from the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce's State of Hollywood event.
Strengthening relations between cops and communities. The focus of this movement that's taking place all across the country. More from National Night Out coming up.
Bike lovers can now take in all the sights of the San Pedro waterfront without driving it or walking it as Metro ride-sharing arrives at the port. That's coming up.
Hello and welcome to LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Yana Kay. If you live or have driven around Hollywood recently, you've probably noticed all the construction cranes overhead. Well, that's because the area's building boom is in full swing. Gil Reyes hears from developers who answer some of their critics.
Have you seen it? The recently opened Dream Hotel on Selma and Cahuenga. It's one of several new development projects in Hollywood, and more are coming.
We also have a lot of housing that's under construction, and as well as some new office buildings that are just being completed that'll bring new jobs here to Hollywood.
LaRon Gubler, CEO of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, gives us an update at the Hollywood Economic Summit. You could say Hollywood's construction boom actually began 15 years ago with the development of the Hollywood and Highland complex. And since then, the building has not stopped. Currently, there are some 90 construction projects here in Hollywood that are either in the pipeline or in the planning stages. Of course, all this growth has its critics, longtime residents who say development is pricing them out of the neighborhood. They've fought back at the polls and in court, but former area councilman Tom LaBonge reminds them development has benefits too, like job creation.
There's this economic engine that does help people.
Developers also say the more housing we build, the more the cost of housing goes down because there's more available for everyone. But getting in the way, developers say, is the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. Developers behind Dream Hotel say the law needs to be reformed.
Anyone off the street can file a litigation matter on a CEQA, and then you have to challenge it. And that threat of challenging it could drag out some time. You have a threat of being able to get your financing or not on a project.
Has that affected you personally?
It's affecting us now, yeah.
In fact, two other Hollywood projects from Dream Hotel developers remain tied up in court. The city is updating a Hollywood community plan that will hopefully be adopted by the beginning of 2018.
We're listening to everyone and all viewpoints. That's why this plan actually preserves about half of the area in terms of keeping the residential neighborhoods intact,
while concentrating much of the construction near transit stops to encourage more public transit, less driving. In Hollywood, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell also wants to add more traffic signals around development projects to help ensure safety. Heading over to the LA River, where restoration efforts got a big boost thanks to $100 million. Gil Reyes has more on what the money flow could bring.
We could see soccer fields, hiking paths, and picnic areas here, thanks to a newly approved state budget.
This is an important milestone for Los Angeles.
State leaders adding $100 million to the pot in plans to revitalize the LA River. Two public agencies will oversee the grant money, half of it going to the upper half of the channel, the rest going to the lower half. Money will be divided among river nonprofits like Friends of the LA River. The group wants to rip out much of the concrete and restore the river to its natural state.
And it couldn't come at a more crucial moment. All across the country, our environment and environmental organizations are under fire. But our California leadership demonstrates over and over again its commitment and its sharing in the vision that we have as environmental stewards.
But some say revitalization and development will squeeze longtime residents out of neighborhoods.
This is just a beautification process to help the gentrification process that other communities around LA are feeling right now. We are being evicted from our house.
While others say opening up the river to recreation and development along 51 miles from Canoga Park to Long Beach is a good thing.
I know for me as a girl from Boa Heights, connecting with nature helped me bring opportunities about what is possible and and how you can actually play a role in changing your neighborhood and changing your environment.
Along the LA River, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The state also kicked in $51 million to help the city buy Taylor Yard in Cypress Park. Mayor Eric Garcetti has called the parcel the crown jewel of the LA River restoration plan. Well, not in a galaxy so far away, but right here in LA. The director of Star Wars decides to dock the legacy of his empire in the city. Rasha Goel has more.
And we said from the beginning that the force was very strong here in Los Angeles. We said that we were a place that would get the job done and would open up our arms and our hearts.
Mayor Eric Garcetti is referring to opening up the City of Angels to the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art. The Los Angeles City Council recently approved the plans for the $1.5 billion museum funded by Lucas himself. The museum will be built in Exposition Park adjacent to Lucas's alma mater, USC.
This is probably, from an individual family for a single museum, the largest gift in American history in a single place. We make history together because of the generosity of this family who understands what giving back is all about.
The 5-story museum will look like a spaceship hovering above the park. According to Lucas, the museum won't only focus on film, but other forms of narrative art such as storytelling and painting. Lucas's personal collection of fine and popular art, including memorabilia related to his Star Wars franchise, will also be a part of the museum. All of this with one goal in mind:
to inspire people to think outside the box, to imagine whatever you want to imagine, to help build on the myths that bind our city and our people together.
George Lucas and his wife Melody Hobson chose Los Angeles over San Francisco for the museum's location.
This is where we were supposed to be. And I know it took us a couple stops to get here, but please know how much we appreciate the support, the enthusiasm, and the love that we've gotten from this city.
City leaders say the museum will not only be a global attraction, but will also expose local families and kids to the arts in new and exciting ways.
Art makes people from all races and all ages and all sizes and shapes. It brings us together. A lot of times we don't even know it, but it makes us think. It makes us dream.
And this is one dream that will perhaps help inspire a new generation of dreamers. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The museum's construction is scheduled to start by early next year, with an opening date tentatively set for 2021. Turning now to LA Metro's bike share program, which has already taken quite a chunk of pollution out of the air, and it's just getting started. San Pedro becomes the latest city to get Metro bikes. Ana Marcos joins community members for a ride.
We're heading right through you. Yeah. And I don't know how to use the brakes, so get out of the way.
That's County Supervisor Janice Hahn revving up. Other bike fans do last-minute checkups on their two-wheelers, and some take a little test run. They're getting ready for a very special Metro bike outing along San Pedro's waterfront.
Well, what kind of bike are you riding today, and what do you expect to...
It's a Schwinn, and it's an electric bike, okay, because I'm an old man.
What are you famous for?
I'm supposed to be famous because I ride a skateboard.
But today, you're riding a bike?
Yeah.
Some of them think it's kind of weird to ride a bike, but I'm like, no, dude, this is cool. Albert Einstein did it.
And with that, Einstein lovers, bike lovers, Metro lovers, and non-brake users take off on San Pedro's first ever Metro bike sharing ride. San Pedro now becomes the third community in LA to get the Metro bike share rentals. All you have to do is use a Metro Bike Pass card or a credit card, and you're off.
I always see visitors either to town or coming off of the cruise ships, walking long distances to get to the restaurants or to get to Crafted. So I think they're really going to love this bike share.
It's always good to ride a bike as opposed to driving. And, you know, we're trying to get to zero emissions. Clearly, this vehicle is zero emissions.
We believe that the bicycle is a tool to decongest cities, to make them more sustainable, more equitable and safe.
And there's plenty of bikes for everyone with 120 rentals and 13 bike stations all over the waterfront.
This bike sharing is really an important new mobility tool that will improve access to waterfront destinations.
Since it was first introduced in downtown LA last year, the Metro Bike Share program has helped take 471,000 pounds of carbon dioxide emissions out of our air. Now that's reason enough to start pedaling. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
So far, downtown LA, Pasadena, and San Pedro have gotten the Metro bikes, with Venice next by the end of summer. For more information, visit metro.net/bikeshare. Also in San Pedro, they arrived representing 14 nations. When they left, they were all Americans. Gil Reyes takes us to a special citizenship ceremony on board the USS Iowa.
Please raise your right hands and repeat after me.
Meet LA's newest United States citizens.
There's no words to describe how happy we are today that we are all becoming American citizens, and I feel like that's the dream of everyone here living in this country.
Fernanda Manzano is among the 41 young people taking the oath of allegiance on board the USS Iowa battleship in San Pedro. Their ages range between 7 and 22 years old. They became eligible for citizenship when their parents were naturalized.
I am so honored and excited to say to you, greetings, my fellow Americans.
U.S. Senator Kamala Harris attends the ceremony. Harris, the daughter of immigrants herself. Her mom is from India, her dad from Jamaica. She tells the group that immigrants built this country and to exercise their rights as Americans.
Get involved. Attend town hall meetings or city council meetings. Run for offices yourselves. Vote. All of these are the responsibilities of the citizenship you have now earned.
New American Victoria Keller has enjoyed life in the U.S. for years now. But among friends and classmates, something's been missing until now.
For them, it's like you're not really part of the country. So it's nice to kind of just be like officially part of the country.
Not to mention new privileges like the right to vote, to run for public office, to be eligible for federal benefits, and to be able to travel abroad for long periods of time without fear of deportation. San Pedro Council member Joe Buscaino is also here. Buscaino, a first-generation Italian-American.
It reminded me a lot of my family when they first came here to San Pedro, to the Los Angeles. And their story is no different than our story. A story of opportunity, of faith, of love, of family. And this city of Los Angeles continues to welcome everyone from all over the world.
On board the USS Iowa in San Pedro, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
LA's newest Americans come from Mexico, Egypt, Nigeria, the Philippines, and several other nations. Well, just like many of those new U.S. citizens, many come to realize the American dream. And as one family who came from Mexico shows us, the American dream is alive and well if you work hard. Rasha Goel has more.
In 1926, Mexican immigrant Ignacio Lozano founded La Opinión, which became the first Spanish-language print newspaper in the LA area. Today, the paper celebrates its 90th anniversary, and the Lozano family is being honored for bridging a gap through media.
It really wasn't until La Opinión existed that I think a lot of Latinos here in LA had a source of information and empowerment that was really needed.
The Lozano family received the Pobladores Award and were recognized as local trailblazers. In fact, not only is La Opinión the second most read newspaper in Los Angeles, it is the largest Spanish-language newspaper. Monica Lozano, member of the Lozano family and former publisher of the paper, remembers her grandfather Ignacio Lozano's legacy.
And the fact that he had such commitment and such dedication to providing news and information to the Latino community, and that we can carry that on over 3 generations and 90 years is just extraordinary. So for me, this is a celebration of the founder of La Opinión, Ignacio Lozano.
Recognizing Latino media pioneers is part of La Plaza's mission to cultivate an appreciation for Latino history, art, and culture.
Our museum is dedicated to the founding of Los Angeles by the original pobladores, the families who came up from Mexico in 1781. And we do that through exhibitions that we conduct here. We have permanent historical exhibitions that tell the history of Los Angeles. And we also have changing exhibitions that are historical or artistic in nature.
And by recognizing those who are making an impact in the community, as did the Lozano family. And for publisher Ignacio Lozano Jr., he says the mission was no longer to be a Mexican newspaper published in Los Angeles, but an American newspaper that happens to be published in Spanish. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The annual dinner is a charity event and raised $200,000 to support La Plaza's educational programs. Well, sure, Northern California is famous for wine country, but once upon a time, Los Angeles was primo for vino. Gil Reyes reports on some old-school winemaking, LA style.
Built in 1818, a Villa Adobe on Olvera Street is the oldest standing home in Los Angeles. The site also shares history with downtown LA's last remaining winery, San Antonio Winery.
The actual original San Antonio Winery was actually here on site, but the grapes that you see in the oldest house in the city of Los Angeles at the Avila Adobe Museum is actually still producing grapes.
Enter LA City archivist Michael Holland. He's also an amateur winemaker. Holland and fellow vintner Wes Hagen decided to make wine out of the Olvera Street grapes. They shared their creation at this annual Spirit Symposium at Avila Adobe. Their wine, a classic Angelica, was the same variety created by Mission Padres over a century ago, back when Los Angeles County was the epicenter of winemaking, long before Napa Valley.
This is a very small little hidden piece of Los Angeles history. Southern California used to have more acreage in grapes and more wineries than Northern California until about the 1890s, when the property around here became more valuable for housing and freeways and roads and various things like that.
We were making tons of wine at San Gabriel Mission in Los Angeles until we had a disease come up called Anaheim disease or Pierce's disease. That happened simultaneously with the gold rush starting in Northern California. So all the money, all the grapes moved north to Northern California, while Southern California viticulture sort of languished and died.
But LA's link to the past lives on with these vines on Olvera Street. DNA tests show they're at least 150 years old, possibly the oldest grapevines in California. Los Angeles also still has San Antonio Winery on Lamar Street. Downtown's last remaining winery turns 100 years old this fall.
It is a part of the culture, a part of the history, what makes Los Angeles, Los Angeles. And the family has been here several generations, and they wouldn't even dream of being anywhere else but Los Angeles.
Still the toast of the coast, with or without wine country. On LA's Olvera Street, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
And you can see quite possibly the oldest grapevines in California live, free, and up close at Avila Adobe on Olvera Street. Well, here's an important reminder as kids head back to school. Watch the road, especially near school zones. Anna Marcos joins us from the Valley with more. Anna.
Yana, as more than 55 million students around the country head back to school, educators and traffic advocates want to make sure they stay safe, especially here in LA. They have some tips for parents, students, and drivers. It's a stark and graphic demonstration. This is a kid's brain in a helmet, and this is the same kid's brain without a helmet after an accident. What did you see there? What did you learn?
A brain.
And that could be your brain, right?
So if they have a helmet on, 85% of them are going to walk away. Helmets save lives.
You don't really think about using helmets, so it's an eye-opener.
Bikes and helmets, just one of the many lessons as the Schools Open Drive Carefully campaign takes off in LA and the country. It's an effort to get drivers, students, and parents putting child and traffic safety first as classes start up again.
Drivers through the summer haven't seen kids out on the street, so now it's going to be the perfect storm.
The campaign is a yearly joint effort by AAA, the LA Unified School District, and traffic safety groups. The biggest takeaway for drivers: always be on the alert for pedestrians and bikes, no texting and driving, and slow down.
If a car is moving at 40 miles per hour, there's only a 10% chance that that child will survive. At 20 miles per hour, that student has an 80% chance of living.
We know that taking your eyes off the road for just 2 seconds doubles your chances of being involved in a crash.
Parents should obey school traffic rules and pay attention to drop-off and pickup points. And kids, look before you step out on the street. Use a crosswalk. And if you're on a bike, wear a helmet. Close to 2,000 kids were injured or killed in California pedestrian accidents in 2015. Just about all of those could have been prevented. I'm Anna Margos for LA This Week.
For more information on school safety tips, visit AAA.com/school safety. The LAPD considers deploying drones during selected tactical operations. Designers go for a walk on the wild side to benefit the LA Zoo, and Metro Rideshare marks its first birthday. All these stories in Citybeat. The Los Angeles Police Department took its first step towards starting a drone pilot program. LAPD Assistant Chief Beatrice Gurmala presented the department's plan for a pilot program for limited use of drones to the Board of Police Commissioners. Gurmala said the department plans to hold a series of public meetings to get feedback on the program, then draft official guidelines before bringing the pilot program back to the commissioners for approval. The guidelines the LAPD is considering would create limited uses for drones that would respect First and Fourth Amendment rights, and that the devices would not be used for general surveillance. Criteria for their use would include high-risk tactical operations, risk of exposure to hazardous materials, detection of explosive devices, barricaded armed suspect responses, and hostage rescues. A special exhibit of international art, fashion, and film was held recently, benefiting the LA Zoo and Botanical Gardens Conservation Program, and to celebrate the zoo's 50th anniversary. Put on by Moda 360, the event featured a sustainable runway fashion show called A Walk on the Wild Side, with creations by artists and designers reflecting the species, habitats, and conservation projects. The goal of the 2017 exhibit was to highlight sustainability and the importance of preserving the habitats and inhabitants of our planet. It's been 1 year since Metro launched its bike share program. Metro and community members came out to mark the occasion. Officials say there have been more than 180,000 rides on Metro bike share in the first year.
It's a celebration of Los Angeles making way and room for bikes as a mode of transportation.
Well, cops took to the streets recently not to make arrests, but to nurture trust and establish bonds with community members. Gil Reyes reports from National Night Out, where the public seemed receptive.
With LA City Attorney Mike Fuhr up front, people marched to LAPD's Olympic Station for a night of bonding between cops and communities.
We feel your strength, we feel your love. We are only as successful as you and your partnerships allow us to be.
With food and fun, National Night Out gives families a chance to get to know their local officers and the problems they face. This summer, it's a spike in robberies, up 28% in the Koreatown, East Hollywood area between June and July. Police say crooks are targeting people on cell phones.
So we have a big push about trying not to be distracted when you're out and about. Don't talk on the phone, take the music off, be aware of your surroundings, because most of the robberies that occur, they walk up behind you, they grab your phone, or they just get right in front of you, you have no idea.
Though gaining public trust is the goal, law enforcement continues to be plagued by bad press. Recently, former LA County Sheriff Lee Baca was sentenced to prison on charges stemming from FBI investigations into inmate abuse in his jails. And at LAPD, scandal in the cadet program. Several accused of stealing cars and equipment. One adult officer accused of sexual relations with an underage cadet. Despite all this, LA City Council member Mitch O'Farrell strongly supports local cops.
Are there tragic issues with abuse of law enforcement? Absolutely. But it is an infinitesimal percentage compared to all of the good that are done by law enforcement.
I come to support my community.
Myri Alonzo appreciates Olympic Station's free domestic violence classes for women.
I feel of the cops, they help people.
Joshua Pop says he'd like to become an officer someday. Of course, Olympic Division, not the only LAPD agency doing this tonight. So are Devonshire Division, Foothill Division, and Wilshire Division, among so many other law enforcement agencies across Southern California. Reporting from National Night Out, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Though Councilmember O'Farrell supports a full investigation into the cadet incident, he also strongly supports that the program continue. Support Studio City with a neighborhood street fair, enjoy Disney's Moana on the big screen for free, and celebrate the unique flavor of Echo Park. All this in this week's Things to Do. Alternative Entertainment and the Studio City Business District, in partnership with Councilmember Paul Krikorian, present the Studio City Street Festival. Eat, shop, play, and support your local community with 60 vendors, great music, local shops, and restaurants. The festival takes place Saturday, August 19th from 5 to 9 p.m. at 12001 Ventura Place. If you haven't seen Disney's Moana, here's your chance. Join this adventurous teenager as she sails out on a daring mission to save her people. Along the way, she meets a once mighty demigod who joins her on this action-packed adventure. The screening takes place on August 19th at 10 a.m. at the Madrid Theater in Canoga Park, but you must register first. Visit blumenfield.lacity.org. Watch your favorite bands play for free during Echo Park Rising, a neighborhood event that focuses on the music, creativity, diversity, and small businesses of Echo Park. There are multiple stages and activities throughout the weekend located on main routes of Sunset Boulevard, Glendale, Alvarado Avenue, and Echo Park Avenue. More than 300 bands will descend on the neighborhood of Echo Park for one free weekend of outdoor shows. In addition to the lineup of artists performing, shops, galleries, restaurants all come together to celebrate the vibrancy of this eclectic boulevard. It all takes place on Thursday, August 17th through Sunday, August 20th. For more, visit epr.la. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.